Now back to more Paul W. Smith on WJR. Once again substituting, here's Kevin Dietz.
President Donald Trump surprised a lot of people yesterday with a shakeup, bringing in a new campaign manager. Perhaps it has something to do with some serious sliding numbers in the polls in key states, or maybe it was that Tulsa, Oklahoma rally where 1 million tickets were supposedly requested, but only a small crowd showed up to see the president talk. But here to talk about all of it is our good friend David Dulio, professor at Oakland University. David, welcome to the Paul W. Smith Show.
Thanks, Kevin. Nice to talk to you again.
Yes, nice to talk to you as well. Did the shakeup news surprise you, or did it need to be done?
It did not surprise me for the simple fact that, A, it's been rumored for a couple of weeks that it might be, and two, President Trump has had a lot of turnover in his administration. There were shakeups in the 2016 campaign. It's nothing new with Donald Trump, that's for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about these numbers. Everybody likes to watch them, and some people say they don't really matter what the numbers are because of this silent majority that pushed President Trump to victory 4 years ago. But Joe Biden is making serious headway in some key states. What are the numbers telling you?
Well, I think you've got a point, first off, to say that, the numbers in mid-July about November, just because we've still got 3.5 months until Election Day. And as you know, that's a long time in politics, and so many things can change. And there's, in addition to that, in 2020, in an era of COVID-19, we've got uncertainty. We've got more uncertainty now in this election cycle than maybe than in past, because there's things out there that are playing out. And certainly coronavirus is one of them. What happens to the cases? What happens to the deaths? What happens in the response? Another one is the economic impact of COVID-19 on the country, and in particular on states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, which are going to be critical in the fall election. And three is former Vice President Biden's own VP pick. This could be the most consequential vice presidential choice we've seen in a long, long time, for the simple reason that Joe Biden has said, look, I'm only going to serve one term. I want somebody who can take the reins immediately should anything happen to me. So there's going to be, I think, a lot more light on this pick than others in the past. So with all of that yet to be played out, let's talk after Labor Day about the polls, and then I think we'll have a better shot at handicapping this thing.
Yeah, but it's got to be troubling to Donald Trump and his team when they look at numbers in Arizona, Florida, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. These are all states where Trump was ahead back in March and April. Now in Arizona, Biden 51, Trump 45. In Florida, Biden 50, Trump 43. Here in Michigan, Biden 48, Trump 42. North Carolina, Biden 47, Trump 46, closer there. Pennsylvania, Biden 50, Trump 42. Wisconsin, Biden 48, Trump 42. Those are fairly significant advantages for Biden in states that Donald Trump hopes to win.
Yeah, and I think that's another good point, that the Trump campaign and maybe they saw similar numbers, which is why the campaign shakeup occurred. Look, these numbers are. The Trump campaign would much prefer that they were ahead in these polls at this point in time than behind. But as we saw in 2016, statewide polling can be tough. And in a lot of states, pollsters missed it because, as you know, a poll is only as good as its sample. And it's only as good as it does in predicting voter turnout on Election Day. So we don't know that right now. So, the pollsters, and hopefully they've learned their lesson from 2016 and can do a better job of choosing a sample and giving us better results. But is the Trump campaign concerned? I think they should be, for the simple fact that they'd be much happier, as I said, leading rather than trailing.
When I look at polls a lot of the times, I just wonder if they're missing the mark on what people care about. Depending on how you ask the question, you could have a very different answer. If they're talking about coronavirus and they want to blame the president for coronavirus, your numbers may be one way. But if you want to talk about the economy alone or the stock market by itself, people might say, well, my gosh, we're in this massive pandemic and the stock market is fine. And yes, the economy's in big trouble, but that any president would have that problem. We're encouraged by President Trump's ability to come out of it more so than Biden. And we've seen Biden talking pretty regularly now about what his plan would be to fix the economy. So they must recognize that the economy may be the one single biggest issue over some of these other topics that people talk about.
Yeah, and the economy is always the top issue. I mean, and that goes back historically, right, where it's only in rare presidential elections where the economy slips down in terms of the priorities of the public. But even those it doesn't slip very far, right? And in 2020, I think you've got a number of things that are tied into the economy, a number of related issues. But you're absolutely right that the way questions are asked, the way that they are framed, can produce varying results. And that's what we don't have when we read news stories about polls, are things like question wording, the sample, to really let us dig in and evaluate that poll.
How serious do you think the silent majority is? How many people are going to vote for Trump but will never tell anybody that?
Well, I think it's a significant number, right? And that might be 4, 5, 6 points. But in a close election, that's plenty to swing a race one way or the other. And there's some good evidence of that back from 2016 and 2017 on that showed when people answer survey questions, they give different answers depending on the response that they on the way the poll is being conducted. Say a live interviewer versus an automated phone poll, where people who have to talk to another human being are less likely to say that they support the president or vote for the president than if they just have to push a button when prompted. So there's your silent Trump support. It's out there. Is it enough to get him tied with Biden these days, or in November over the top? That's yet to be determined.
All right, David Dulio, professor at Oakland University. Check back in with us as this thing gets a little closer, okay?
Anytime, Kevin.
All right, you're listening to the Paul W. Smith Show. Let's take a quick break to check out weather and traffic with Dana Clark.